Before I get to the meat and the crux of this video, I want y'all to check the links that are provided below the description box. That will show you a link or two that will go into depth of this presentation. Now, before I begin to read this article and expound my opinions upon it, I decided that it's time to one up the ante when it comes to the individuals, or should I say, the leadership of the Manosphere. I think the best option for the Manosphere is to, well, after thinking about it for a very long time, instead of trying to deal with them on personal conversations, the best route is to not reason with them. But I'll talk about that later on at the end of this video. But here's an article that was last month. I think it's around October or September rather of this year, entitled, something about the Manosphere in Kenya. The title is, "As Social Media Grows in Kenya, So Does the Disturbing and Toxic Manosphere." And the author of this is Caroline Kimmy. And here's what she said here. Boys and young men are increasingly being drawn into online forums that disintegrate, objectify, and quote-unquote slut shame women. How can we effectively address it? It is not so much a rabbit hole that I found myself down, but in a hole worn of sexist content. When I began researching the story of Kenya's Manosphere, a loosely connected network of websites and social media platforms that promote misogyny online. What I saw was disturbing. Scores of tweets, posts, and video content that disintegrate, objectify, slut-shame women, or encourage men to exercise coercive control. Sorry for my mispronunciations. I found misogyny sessions that trend weekly on Elon Musk's X platform, that's Twitter, promoting views that men should dominate women, comments that equate masculine power with the ability to impregnate, warnings for men to be vigilant against feminists and wary of child entrapment ploys, and cautions against women who are terminate pregnancies with deep, unscientific advice on how to identify. There's nothing new about misogyny, and Kenya's no exception. But online communities that promote harmful messaging that grown exponentially over the past few years, mirroring the growth in social media users in Kenya, while in movements such as Me Too, hashtag Me Too, has sparked global reckonings on gender power dynamics, and the manosphere in Kenya has exploded as women increasingly increase social and economic power is perceived as a threat to men's status and well-being. After reading a couple of posts from the Manosphere, similar content began to prop up on my timeline as the algorithms got to work. Harmless discussions about relationships, health, finance can quickly descend into damaging narratives. Old gender stereotypes as are packaged as new revelations as influence position themselves as the underdog truth tellers in a gynocentric world. Red pill ideology, the perceived awakening to realities about gender, is gaining a following from the men's rights communities. It includes idea that it is men, not women, who are now socially, politically disadvantaged by gender politics and the need to reclaim power. A framing not based on fact, but risk eroding support for women's rights. In Kenya, where gender inequality is still deeply ingrained. Female social media users I spoke with said they prefer to just block accounts producing such content rather than engage, avoiding, contradicting, or correcting false statements drew their fear of being trolled, harassed, or doxxed. Such concerns are well placed. When I tried to engage with the Manosphere influencers for comment, my emails were published online and received backlash. Researchers I spoke to were already increasing regarding their findings on online misogyny for the fear of being targeted, and the pushback I received amplified those concerns. Important sources dropped out or withdrew their comments. One discouraged me from pursuing my story, saying it put any women I interview at risk of becoming a sitting duck. Information rights groups agree that the growth of the manosphere is concerning, but have a different ideas how to tackle it. Misinformation analysis insists that direct counter counter engagement could expand or legitimize manosphere platforms, where rights groups said that a reluctance to act could silence women on social media platforms, push them into online an echo chamber, and elbow them out completely. Activists warned that the failure to tackle the rise of toxic technoculture will affect progress towards a UN target to close the digital gender gap by the year 2030. One influencer told how the attacks she received last year had affected how she interacts online. I have been seeing this trend, quoting her, I have been seeing this trend in a few years. These guys are tearing women down while hiding behind their anonymity, said Life Coach Tara Gartarde, 38, who posts on topics such as sex and life as a child-free woman. She now draws a line between her personal and online personas. I'm trying to regroup and find a way to engage online in a way that keeps me safe, she says. Online attacks are often decentralized, which make it easier for users to evade accountability for violating content, researchers say. You're unlikely to find that attacks are being orchestrated by one person or group, says Tim Squirrel from the Institute of Strategic Dialogue, who tracks harm and extremism on social media platforms. Let me make a mental note of that. Continuing the article, you might see it as disgusting. You might see it as being discussed in comment sections or in Telegram channels or in other semi-private spaces, he says. It leads to you to being inundated by hundreds, if not thousands, of abusive messages, and the consequences of that is that you're forced out of participating in the online space and sometimes from public life in general. These comments pose a risk of boys and men searching for guidance about male identity in changing times. They are more likely to find communities that exploit men's anxieties, call them victims of a global assault on masculinity that left them silent, emasculated, disposable, disrespected. Wait a minute. Let me put my my commentary on this right here. Doesn't that sound like the Manosphere? The black Manosphere, especially when they either blame America, gynocentrism, or they blame, the Democratic Party, liberals, conservatives, or whoever else, the tricons, so forth and so forth. Anyway, let me continue the topic. It's agency that most men are looking for, masquerading as the need for power, says healthy masculinity advocate, I can't pronounce his name. Growing up witnessing violence in two generations of his family made him question ideas of manhood. But there is a cult-like following for anti-equality or sexist content, with some of it viewed by hundreds of thousands of people. Men who criticize Manosphere beliefs are met with contempt, labeled simps, soy boys, or vaginas, exposed as effeminate or eager to please women. Well, I'm not here to please women. Let me say like myself, I'm not here to please women. This is more about boys, the future boys and how boys will be perceived as future predators. That's what my problem is. I ain't trying to please nobody online. I talk about myself. Controversial content, rage harvesting, has boosted influencer careers, says Squirrel. Some key Kenyan players in the Manosphere has risen to this kind of almost demigod status. This isn't just happening organically. Social media systems has been built in such a way that they encourage and promote the most sensationalist, provocative, and outrageous content, which often the content that is harmful, and platforms profit from it. So this is a kind of symbiotic ecosystem. Major social media companies, X, aka Twitter, YouTube, and Meta, have all cybercrime policies that prohibit objectionable content such as hate speech, bullying, harassment, meticulous targeting certain groups, or use of sexual profanity. However, the policies are intimate to varying degrees, influenced or smart enough to use slang or lesser known languages to evade detection. Well, this is the reason why, me personally, I want Section 230 to be repealed from the United States law. It's the reason why I want Section 230 to be repealed so certain people can be sued. So social media companies can be sued as well for allowing the foolishness, for not abiding by their own policy. It took a woman from a certain magazine to take down Cynthia G for her hate speech. So now I think it's time to take down the Oswald Cobblepot. I think it's time to take down the master teacher and anybody else who gets in the way. That's all I'm going to say. I say we need to take all of these groups out, these hate speech groups out. And yes, you pro-blacks too. Next, defenders of the Manosphere, going back to the article, defenders of the Manosphere content will call it fair content, freedom of speech, and takedowns of woke cancel culture. But misinformation groups believe that the growth of these communities is being outsized influence on women and girls in Kenya, which remains under scrutiny. Studies show links between toxic masculinity, the assertion of male dominance and power over women, and sexual violence. The greatest danger is that there is discriminatory language flying around on social media, but that it ends up in hate crimes and produce the social consent for gender-based violence, says Yungu Hugan, a civil rights advocate and director of Amnesty International Kenya. More than 40% of women in Kenya already experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. 1 in 3 girls experience sexual violence before turning the age of 18. The fight against digital patriarchy is still new, says Huggin. As more organizations begin to understand that the Manosphere is a site of contestation, we will see more of them begin to take this on, he says. So this is the article. So let me break this down here. I think it's high time to take the war to them. Now, having said that, right? I don't care if it's Manosphere, SYSBM, the Divestors, the BWE, Black Women Empowerment Group, and the Pink Pill. I think all these groups are part of the problem. They feed off of each other, of their hate. And me being here for a very, very long time, who know how this gender war started, and when did it start, and how did it start. You can't tell me, oh, it's just the men. No. You women fed into it too. Y'all gave it gasoline on both sides, whether that's women who are called mammies and the women who are so anti-male that y'all venom and y'all's evil way helped gave the Manosphere all the ammunition they need to survive. You know what? I'm going to talk about that in my next video. That's right. I'm going to talk about that in my next video. Like, share, subscribe. I'm out.